YouTube, it's Tone. I'm back with another one for you. And this one is dealing with presentments. This is the last, I think it's the last one of this. Yeah, it is. So this is the last video of this book. We're gonna get into some other fly shit. I'm gonna get into some debt discharge and shit like that next. I'll do that. So let's get into this. This is esoteric knowledge. And I haven't even read this part of the book, so we'll just run through this shit together. Esoteric knowledge. As is common knowledge, the world system, i.e., the system by which the world is governed, is the product of millennia of development and use. The system functions on the basis of an integrated utilization of four of the major cons that have successfully exploited mankind throughout history. These four major cons are, number one, the science technology con, whereby a scientific priesthood attains power and essentially a monopolistic position to dictate what the laws of physics, chemistry, etc. are. And so they do this to keep your mind in a box. So then essentially you're only able to create within those certain parameters that they set forth and that you accept as the truth, right? So then that limits your manifestation possibilities. Now you're really in a box. So you call it education, I call it a limitation. Imagination really is the key here, and that shit really is the key to fucking creation. So you think if the creator couldn't think outside the box, he could have even made you a dumbass? You know what I mean? So some of the consequences of this phenomenon, including foreclosing exploration of deeper and more powerful and more universal knowledge, as well as alternative out of the box ways of looking at things, and most importantly, fostering external dependency at the expense of the people realizing their own true nature and actualizing its potential. One who is awake and empowered cannot be exploited. The esoteric heart of the con is that all of the technological development and manipulation that occurs in the realm of science, including the design, engineering, and manufacture of all industrial products involving scientific knowledge, essentially everything produced today, are accomplished by projecting into the outer world the things that we, as spiritual beings, are inwardly capable of knowing, being, and doing in, by, and through ourselves. Examples of this are various yogis and masters who possess such supernatural or at least extraordinary powers, see these in Sanskrit as invisibility, transporting one's body anywhere instantly at the speed of thought, being multiple places at one time, etc. Now, I mean, so there's elements that you could take to get this done too. The key is in the periodic table. That's where everything that you need is. Everything that they tell you is bad is probably the shit that you want to be taking, to be honest with you. So you could literally turn your body into a literal superhuman body with hormones and things off the periodic table. Legit, you could probably fly and shit like that too. I'm pretty sure, because it's just all just magnetism. You just have to get your fucking magnetism correct. So, two. And so that's one thing too that they don't want you to understand. So when you understand the fundamental principles of the fabric of reality here, being electromagnetism, then you understand that flying would just be a matter of magnetism, right? Equal opposite force in this magnetic field that we freaking exist in. That's what it is. Think about it. So the religion con, in which the doctrine and dogma of such religion are promulgated as truth, perhaps the best or at least most important truth. And if you want to get to God, you must go through the religion priesthood and live your life in accordance with the teachings of the religion, fostering fear such as by invoking hell and the devil, and often part of the mind control mechanism utilized. And so they use fear, morals, dogma, shame, and shit like that. You know, blackmail, things like that, which is gonna go, in the line of shame and things like that, right? And morals that they give you. Oh, what do people find out? What are they gonna think of you? That shit is all shame, morals, and dogma, right? Because who really gives a fuck? Whatever you like is what you like. Who really gives a fuck? So they try to use that against you by painting these pictures of what they call good and bad, and then they have you engage in those stupid ass activities, and then hold it over your head as if you're supposed to give some type of fuck. You know what I mean? But a lot of people do, and they fall for the trap. So three, the law government con, consisting of instilling as deeply, securely, pervasively, and unquestionably as possible the belief that man must have governments, right? And so they want you to believe that men, if the government wasn't around, that shit would just fall into chaos and shit. Now I recall clearly during this last COVID bullshit, there was no cops around, there was nobody outside, none of that, and there was no violence, there was no people looting, loitering, or none of that fucking dumbass fuckery. You know, they pay these stupid ass crisis actors to go out here and do a lot of this fuckery to get everybody to just follow in suit. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you gotta just you gotta just open your eyes, man, and you can see it all. I mean, it's right there. So anyway, they want you to believe that men must have governments, i.e., that some people must be governed by other people. Right? Okay. So it could be. So then, who says it should be them? You know what I'm saying? Look, if that's your ideology and you think that people should rule over other people, who the fuck said it should be you ruling over who? Okay? Because if that's the game, they just say what it is, and we'll see what happens. Okay? So it could be considered a remarkable phenomenon that people who are otherwise incredibly intelligent and discerning never think about questioning the premise, living their lives without ever addressing such a seminal idea. As Socrates purportedly said, the unexamined life is not worth living, and you're pretty much going to end up just a drone, right? If you don't really open your eyes and pay real close mind to what it is, even going on around you, your fucking environment, all that. Open your eyes. So ideas govern man's life. So your paradigm essentially is going to become your filter, and that's going to be the lens through which you filter the world, right? So whether or not those ideas are consciously held, and in the words of Spinoza, nature harbors a vacuum. Something will control one's life. If one does not analyze the ideas that govern his thinking and acting, his life will be controlled by random ideas and ideas deliberately instilled in him by others. And everything that we come in contact with is essentially a form of programming, right? So you got to just just pay mind to what it is that you're programming yourself with, because essentially you're programming your subconscious mind to manifest that reality that you're programming yourself with. So the operational consequences of this con are that the overwhelming percentage of mankind implicitly and unthinkingly believes, as if it were an unshakable aspect of existence itself, that man must have human governments. One may openly question and analyze what kind of government might be best, but if one questions the implicit premise or the necessity and the propriety of the existence of government in the first place, all hell breaks loose. Such a doubter is instantly ridiculed and derided, powerful weapons and labeled an anarchist, an antisocial, or a rebel, or other opprobrium. As if the resolved matter and eliminated the need to evaluate the ideas of someone espousing so radical a concept. So, naturally, the way that I look at this is that, freedom will seem radical in the eyes of a slave master. Okay, so that's how I'm gonna just fucking put that. So obviously it seems fucking radical, just like in any war where one person is calling the other one a fucking terrorist. The one on the opposite side is probably calling the one on the opposite side a terrorist too. So, it really comes and who's right and who's wrong. I mean, they're both probably a couple of assholes, and they're both probably being fucking manipulated, because really, I really don't see much to gain from doing any of that shit. So one party has something to gain, and I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be hard to find a motive if you ever looked really, really deep into any of these situations, if they were even ever real. So this unshakable and unassailable premise of the necessity of governments is immediately rendered questionable by pondering a few elementary considerations. What does government mean? Does man with the sublime attribute of free will exist to be ruled by other men? If so, which men are supposed to rule what other men? And that's what I was just saying. So who should govern whom? Am I to govern you, or are you to govern me? Who decides who governs whom? What source of authority authorizes structuring society on the premise that some men must rule others? Who is it to be entitled to act in what manner and capacity to dominate in what areas of other people's lives? What are the mechanics that should be used for governing, etc., etc.? The problem with governments, when thought about clearly and with an open mind, is that the institution itself is hopelessly, irredeemably, and fatally flawed, and cannot be rendered sound and legitimate by any variations of the institution whatsoever. These flaws are one, absence of that, and so to be a real good ruler, you couldn't even live in the place that you rule, because then you would naturally be biased, right? Because you're gonna have a conflict of interest in some way, shape, or form because you exist in that world. So you literally you couldn't exist in there for you to be considered fair. Now think about that with all the people that you have sitting up there pretending to be fucking ruling over you. It's just a fucking regular ass man, and he probably lives right around the fucking corner from you. So what the fuck? Why would you let him fucking tell you what to do? Get the fuck out of here. So absence of a valid ethical authority for one free will being to dominate the life of another free will being whom he did not create. Now, mind you, I mean, you don't even really know who did create you, because I mean, now that I'm looking into all this cloning and shit, the possibility of these motherfuckers actually creating these a lot of these people is real high, really fucking high, really fucking high. So another free will being whom he did not create, assuming he didn't create this being, cannot fathom, does not own, and who is innately possessed of the inherent right responsibility to live his own life. Abundance of adequate knowledge, i.e., no one is omniscient, and everyone has his hands full in ascertaining how best to live his life and fulfill his own life without meddling in the lives of others, especially the masses of the people whom he cannot comprehend, and has neither the right nor the ability to try to impose such knowledge even if he knew it, nor effective mechanics, since the only operational tool of power available to these governments is the endless application of deadly physical force, i.e. legalized violence, which needless to say does not enlighten and uplift the people, transforms their inner nature so that the deficiencies that create the alleged problems, who define anything as a problem and why, simply are not there, or even bring about an existential rectitude, which is true justice. So that was a fucking mouthful right there. That was a fucking mouthful. So, see what we got here. So as a result of this fundamental premise being rendered operational by those who would rule others, the history of man on this planet is that monotonously ended replay of the same dreary earth dramas. Civilizations form, grow, and expand, reach the zenith, and then decline, disintegrate, and disappear, either suddenly and violently or gradually. As Lao Tzu observed concerning his foregone inevitability, most people who miss after almost winning should never have known the end from the beginning. Okay, so what the fuck does that mean? Either you're a winner or a loser. You're either first place or you're not, right? So the last, and in many ways the most important con is the money, the paper money, bank swindle con, consisting of exchanging symbols of wealth, e.g., pieces of paper that cost the issuer nothing for real. People's labor, property, freedom, and rights, which cost the people their life force and freedom to fulfill their debt. So, you know, like when you really get into this whole money game, you see that like it's all been laid out there for you. And if anybody took the time to study, they wouldn't be living like slaves. And it really all comes down to you and the choices that you choose to make. You know what I mean? So, you know, like the biggest thing that I found in this whole shit was that nothing is fucking hidden at all. It's that you either see it or you don't. To be 100% real with you, like nothing has been hidden from you, and you can know anything. So don't let these people tell you what you can and can't know, what you can and can't figure out, because everything's there for you to find out. So when one has achieved a monopoly on this implementation of this con as exists today, one is essentially at the pinnacle of the attainment of the objective of all cons, since mastery of this con enables purchasing all the other cons. And I mean, you know, it's a fucking corny ass game. And it's annoying now, and so like I went through, it was a crazy fucking emotional process realizing what the fuck it was that was happening, and I blame them a lot for a lot of this shit, but it was really me. It was really fucking me. You know what I mean? It was really me. So the knowledge of these cons and how to effectuate them has been transmitted through the ages through various secret societies, i.e. groups of people who not only learn the knowledge and feel justified in using it for their own advantage via the masses, but functioning in a manner that seeks to foreclose the general populace from knowing and implementing the knowledge. Now, they did make it hard to fucking find and figure out, but it was all there, man. So today, in accordance with because I mean, how else would they know it? I mean, the fucking books are all there. So today, in accordance with the inherent operational nature of life, the truth will out, more and more esoteric knowledge and the use thereof is being revealed. One, for this reason, is that mankind will not be reasoned out of the feelings of humanity, and one of the profoundest feelings of humanity is for freedom and knowledge of the truth. The main reason for this mini disclosure on the... Okay, the rooster's here. So the main reason for this mini disclosure on the four cons is that those who have structured, transmitted, and continue to perpetuate the cons for their own self-aggrandizement via others have sought to anchor this system in aspects of understanding of existence that they consider the most profound, accurate, and powerful possible. The result is that law and commerce function in accordance with esoteric knowledge that has been sought and pondered by innumerable people throughout history, such as Confucius, Pythagoras, Ulysses, Da Vinci, etc., and have been implemented by countless other people in power over extended periods of time. The result is that law and commerce are structured to function out a number of universal things that most people do not know anything about. Chief among this is how to create and sustain power and magic through use of language, symbols, colors, and codes. And this is what I tell you people all the time, because you know I do my fucking gematria. They literally fucking brainwash you and program you and mind control you with not only the series of letters that they put together, which you call language. It's going to be symbols, colors, and codes, and also light. So based on foregoing findings of a number of intelligent and tenacious researchers are now emerging, such knowledge includes ever-increasing understanding of the significance and use of numerology, the colors used for the paper that are intended as being sent where, accomplishing what results, the substances of which the papers are made of, the colors used in the particular text and the dimensions of the paper, and I would imagine the substances that they're putting inside the ink as well, okay? So they're going to use mind control technology and the actual ink itself. So in order to achieve the successful results we all desire when dealing with, in the system, we most actualize this deeper knowledge, which is not only vast and extensive, but only partially known, because finding the understanding in it is an ongoing process, as it should be, right? Because they're trying to be... Anyway, so by way of providing examples of the applied esoteric knowledge of which we speak, we cite the following. So let's see what we got. So yeah, this is what I mean, you know, I've been telling you guys this shit for a fucking... So everybody probably thinks that I'm the fucking crazy one, right? But that's by fucking design. That's actually your firewall that is set there to keep your program in place, to keep it safe. It's like a defense mechanism for it. So the color of the paper used in particular documents or duplicates or of documents is a function of where the documents are to be sent, what they are supposed to accomplish. The colors are white, blue, yellow, goldenrod, pink, green, and violet. A different weight of paper, 20 pounds, 40 pounds, is appropriate for different documents. Number 3, the content of the paper is important, such as whether the paper should be made of cotton, linen, hemp, a mixture of linen. So this is if you're doing bonds and things like that. Some legal paper has to be certain dimensions and things like that too. So, and whether the paper should have such things as threads or gold or silver interwoven in it, or like borders and things like that too, if you're doing promissory notes, bill of exchanges, and things like that. The dimensions of the paper are also important, whether one should be 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 14. So 5, it is also useful to have an imprint of one's footprint on the paper used for some documents, preferably watermarked and of course reduced in size. A footprint, more than fingerprints, constitutes supreme forensic evidence of one's identity as a living biological being. Having it on the paper not only identifies you in such capacity, but symbolically informs the recipients of your documents that you are standing on the ground, even holy ground, and you are not up in the air where the public fictitious side operates. And so that would be the air portion of the law, land, air, and water, right? That's what law would be. So the merits of much of the above can be substantiated by observing documents involved in commerce, such as shipping. In the case of legal documents, which are also in commerce, such as traffic tickets, the original is white, your copy is blue, and the pink copy ownership goes to the court. The green, constituting money, goes to the administration of the court. And so these people are operating in commerce, and you know that because they're giving you a fucking ticket. And what does it have on it? It's got the three different slips on it, the same way as when you fill out a form and then send it to the IRS, right? One gets the everybody gets a copy. Everybody involved in the transaction, there's going to be 3, just like the pyramid. You see how that goes? So 369 even is incorporated in this whole game too. So as of the time in this writing, we are receiving immense amounts of material elaborating on, confirming, and exemplifying the use of this esoteric knowledge, to which we have merely alluded here. Obviously, any extensive discourse of the subject is beyond the scope of this article, which is intended as outlining fundamental concepts and processes. As a result of exposure to this deeper understanding of how the system is constructed and why it was formulated as it is, we are drafting our documents as fully in accord with the information as possible. So basically trying to stay up to date with the codes and statutes and things like that especially as far as how to submit documentation at the court, any depositions. So finally, a practical consideration perpetually concerns anyone dealing with the system, given the obvious facts that we can never know everything, that we are perpetually growing in knowledge, experience, and understanding, and that we want and what we want to do, and we want to do what succeeds. How can we know at what point to act? The answer is often determined by the seriousness of the matter, the time frame involved in having to deal with it. The conundrum is a major incentive not only for studying for and by oneself, but networking with as many others as possible for likewise engaged in ascertaining truth and securing freedom on the basis thereof. The knowledge resulting from the synergistic interaction and the feedback gained from the learning results, the action of the people when attempting to succeed via the system are incomparable. One thing is certain, remaining ignorant and doing nothing ensures losing is the outset. In the words of Bob Dylan, he who is not busy being born is busy dying. So, yeah, and so I mean, what else can you arm yourself with besides arms? But aside from that, it's gonna have to be knowledge, which I think is actually key. So the more you know, the better. So this whole series of videos, I mean, I just dropped some fucking heat for you guys. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna gain a lot of really valuable information from just this whole series in general. So it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.